Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Other People's Secrets, with author and host Todd McNutt, and co-host Cadence Hooper, and special guest Caitlin, the White Hat Hacker.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Other People's Secrets. As he just said, I am your host, Todd McNutt, and I'm looking forward to this. I am missing my co-host. I don't know what happened, but there seems to be some kind of a glitch. Hopefully we'll get her later in the episode and she'll be able to join us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the origins of where I got into this. I ran a business that we got paid to invade people's privacy, and it was called Other People's Secrets. It was my company. And after a little incident with People magazine that I talked about last show, we'll go into it more again next Tuesday, because next Tuesday is, of course, the official premiere of Other People's Secrets podcast and show. So this is kind of a demo run, second shot at it. The one Tuesday night kind of turned into a little bit of a fiasco. My co-host couldn't make it, and I found that out just a few minutes before air. And then I messaged my White Hat Hacker, and she said, "Yeah, sure, I can cover and be there longer." And then it turned out that she messaged me well into the show and said, "I'm on my way to urgent care because I've got a rash from eating something that I was allergic to." So hopefully we don't have that kind of a situation again tonight, but if we do, we will make the best of it and we will wish the best to them. So anyway, getting back to that, I was in the business and I had a little issue with People magazine, and it was all on the story Joseph Buttafuoco and some searches they had us running on him. And so I got out of it. I wrote my first book in 1994 called Other People's Secrets. Anyway, we put it out and we got it published. We put it out. I did the book tour. I did all the stuff. And then everything just kind of faded off. I went back into doing what I do, which is like 5 different careers at once. I drove buses. I traveled. I did publishing. Did aircraft upholstery with my dad. It was an interesting time. But about 3 years ago, some friends and family were talking to me, and I was talking about privacy and stuff, and a lot of things were in the media, and they talked me into rewriting and updating the entire book. So we changed it. The first time it was Other People's Secrets, and it was called A Techno Expose on the Legal Invasion of Privacy by Computer. This time it's called Other People's Secrets, and it is Your Life Unredacted. It's available on Amazon.com. Just look up Todd A. McNutt or Other People's Secrets, and you can find it there. And they're doing a 25% off the cover price on it. So it makes a little bit better deal while we're launching this. So moving right along, I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Okay, first of all, I've got a video I want to play you. And this video is going to shock you. It's a little dated. Some of you will recognize him. The guy's gone on, but he's a legal analyst for Fox News. But the opening of this, we'll just watch it.
This next story may sound like something out of, a Hollywood thriller. A Saudi inventor has created a killer microchip. It's designed to track terrorists and criminals and, well, you can think of somebody. Not only does it include a GPS device, it also has a lethal dose of cyanide, which can be activated at any time. You get my point? The inventor's bid for a patent has been rejected in Germany.
My first reaction is the patent shouldn't be issued in any country. But my second reaction is as a realist that it doesn't really matter if it's patented or not. It will. It's going to be out there. Somebody's going to use it. They're going to. Um, Someone will bring it on board. Someone will do it. Someone will pay the guy for it, even under the table, or he'll disappear. There's a way to that. But RFID, I want to talk a little bit about it though, because one of the things that gets a bad rap on is the RFIDs they're putting in people's hands. There was a lot of controversy over that a number of years ago, and I admit I was one of them. I was throwing a fit about it. But since then, I've been able to do a lot of research on RFID and the technology and so forth. And I've discovered the little grain of rice chip they're using for that, for your pets and stuff. It has a 13-centimeter range, folks. In other words, if the antenna is more than 13 centimeters from your hand, it isn't going to read it. There's no tracking you with it. It's not going to read it. So for me to track you, I have to stand close enough to like hold a selfie stick with an antenna on the end of it within 13 centimeters of your hand in order to track you with it. It's nonsense. There are different kinds, and we're going to go into more of that on future episodes of the show. I'm going to do show and tell and show you the various different kinds of RFID chips. There are several. There's the kind that's the implantable one. There's the cow tag. The tags that clip on a cow's ear. Those have RFIDs in them. There's the one in your money that's buried in there and you can't even feel it. There's the chip that you can see clearly on the face of your credit and debit cards, bank cards, and such. A lot of membership cards to bookstores and everything else. Grocery store club cards and that are all getting the RFID now as well. Then there's the long strip one with the thing in the middle, but it's an antenna. Those are the longer range ones, and those are the ones that I'm more concerned with. And the thing is, the real secret though is the chip that's in your debit card or credit card, and the chip that is in those is basically the same chip. It's just a different frequency, and it's determined by the size of the antenna that's hooked to the chip as to what frequency it can receive and work on, and that the frequency sets the range. So the three, I won't try and quote the numbers. I'll have them in another show when I show you all the different ones. They're all different. They're from 3.15 hertz all the way up to 900 hertz, and the 900, of course, being the longer range that can actually track and do stuff. So it's a little crazy, but that's where that goes. I'm going to pop us into a little commercial break right now, and we're going to hear from one of our sponsors. Stick around.
Your personal information gets exposed so often, it might as well be hanging in a museum. Everyday activities like online shopping, banking, and even data breaches may expose your information and make it dangerously easy to have your identity stolen. No wonder there's a new victim every 3 seconds.
Someone stole my information and tried to buy a car in my name. Felt really devastating, frightened, because I had no control.
And the ways identity thieves can steal and use your information are constantly evolving.
Someone used my information to open up bank accounts in my name. It was terrifying, not knowing what was out there and what had been opened.
Watching your accounts or monitoring your credit may not be enough, but protecting your identity can be easy with LifeLock, a leader in identity theft protection. LifeLock monitors threats to your identity, and if an issue is detected, sends you an alert.
It was a big yes or a big no button. I clicked "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
If you are a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you. I don't know what I would have done without my restoration specialist.
And you'll be covered by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts if needed.
With the $1 Million Protection Package, I know LifeLock has me covered.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity, but now it's easy to help protect yourself.
I realize identity theft can happen to anybody, so that's why I signed up for LifeLock.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock, and for a limited time, save 25% with promo code 25TV. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here. Call 1-800-543-3562 or go to lifelock.com/25TV and use promo code 25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Hey, I'm going to come back from that commercial and talk about the commercial. I talk about LifeLock in the book, Other People's Secrets. And I do for a reason, and very specifically because I use them. I'm a paying customer. I don't get a free. This is not a free promotional for them that they're trading for or anything. I just believe in what they do. I have had people that have come and I've had people try and steal my identity, and I've gotten pop-ups on my screen on my iPhone that's just like they showed in the commercial that says, "Is this you?" And you just tap no, and they take care of it. They contact the credit bureau or whoever's verifying the credit and your information, and they tell them, "No, this isn't Todd," and then they cancel the transaction or the deal. So it's a very valuable service. I'm going to go into this right now and kind of play off that. Do you know that your social security number is public record? A lot of people don't. I get a lot of people who argue with me about that. But your social security number is actually public record. What does that mean? That means there is only one organization in the United States that is required or regulated to protect your social security number. Anybody want to guess? HIPAA protects it with the medical community. That's it. That's it. That's all. There are no more. The credit bureaus list it as what they call above the line. What is the significance above the line? I love the shock I get on people's faces when I throw this one at them. There are 3 pieces of information on your credit report that are actually protected under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I won't even make you guess because you wouldn't. It's not your social security number. It's your credit limit, your current balance, and your credit rating on each of the accounts you have. If you have an account at Macy's or wherever, Target, that's public record. Everywhere you have an account is public record, along with your address, place of employment, who lives with you, what vehicles you own and drive. It's all public record. It's all on your credit report. Your neighbors are listed on your credit report. And your social security number is on your credit report, along with your spouse's, by the way, or your significant other. If you're living together and you're doing credit together, they're both on there. So, I mean, I hear so-called experts on privacy all the time. Years ago, Oprah Winfrey even had a guest on that had written a book on privacy, which always amused me because the guy admitted in the book, in his book and in his interviews, he admitted that he had repeatedly committed felonies to gather the information for the book. I ran a company like that. I never had to break the law. Everything we did was legal, and I did everything he did. So those kind of people will get on there and they're lying to you about everything anyway. Everything in his book was probably nonsense anyway. Because the fact is, if someone tells you to protect your social security number and you could protect your privacy, they're a liar or an idiot. No other choice. There is no option on this. That is a fact. Now, here's one that you need to keep in mind, especially the young ladies out there and the single moms and that. Remember this. When you go to a party, gathering, whatever, you go to any kind of an event or something, and you're there and you get to talking and somebody says, well, what's your last name? And you, oh, I'm Jenny Smith. And then in a few minutes, they're like, well, what is your birth sign? We're going to talk astrology now. They may not even be into astrology, but they know. If you say your birth sign, if I tell them I'm a Sagittarius, oh, when's your birthday? Oh, well, it's November, blah, blah, blah. They now know your birthday. How old are you? They now know the year of birth. They have your entire birth date and your name. With those two pieces of information, I can get your entire credit header. I can know everything about you. And there are services on the internet that will sell me that credit header for $1.99. But right now, we are going to go to a quick commercial break. And we're going to show you a vintage commercial that I think you'll enjoy. I did some research today and found some cute commercials to run. So take a look at this one. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Kate Lee, the White Hat Hacker, right after this.
Introducing our tough one, the 1970 Chevelle SS396. It's a great performer, except for one thing. No one gives it a chance to perform. Not that we can blame them. After all, there's a lot to admire about the new Chevelle SS396.
Your car? Hey, what's that?
A no-nonsense cowl induction hood you can order that actually feeds in extra air when you accelerate. Functional hood pins.
These bobby pins.
No, these aren't bobby pin hood pins, baby, and they're for real hood pins.
What's that?
Yeah. Hey, 2 pipes. Gun it for me, will you, buddy? Oh, now, come on.
These are belted fiberglass tires, aren't they?
Yes.
Consider this fair warning. When you order your Chevelle SS396 at your Chevy dealer's sports department, expect to draw a crowd, no matter where you take it.
Chevy Silverado factory lifted trucks. Where will they take you? Silverado ZR2, Trail Boss, and Custom Trail Boss, because adventure is everywhere.
Okay, we're back, and we are joined with Kate Lee, the White Hat Hacker. Hello,
Hi.
Kate Lee.
Hello.
Welcome to talk to you.
Yay.
She is my expert on all things significant to computers, phones, communications, and security. And when I really, I've known Kate Lee for a long time, but when I really got connected was a few months ago. Kate Lee will probably remember this, I'm sure. She's a lot younger than I am. I called her up and I said, I got a problem. And she goes, what's the problem? And I said, I got a text from someone a couple of days ago. And they said, hey, John, are you going to be able to make it and pick me up tomorrow? Oh, man, that sounds important. Somebody's, connecting for a ride. So I responded to it and I said, hey, you didn't get John. In just a few minutes, I get a message back. It's like, oh, well, what's your name? Bad idea. within the next 24 hours, they were in my Telegram. They were in all of my communications apps. I don't know how they did it. Kaylee probably understands all of that, but they got in my phone. So I called Kaylee up and I said, now what? What do I do? Do I have to throw away the phone, the number, and everything and start over? And she's like, Norton 360. It's like, okay, that was a quick, easy answer. I would love to know what's in that girl's brain because that saved my life. Kaylee, what about Norton 360 makes it so great? Why were you so quick to recommend that? And tell the audience what it was that I fell into.
So, obviously, there's the potential that someone sent a text to a wrong number and they were confused. However, it's 2023, so you always have to be very aware of the fact that it could be extremely intentional and targeted. Text spoofing is very, very easy. So I could pretty easily if I know your phone number, and especially if I know your name, I can basically send and receive texts and phone calls from a cell phone that I own, but it's coming from your number. So I always tell people, if you start to get communications that are like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't call you back, or hey, I missed you, something that doesn't make sense to the conversation that you've had with other people, is when I would start to kind of wonder, has my cell phone number been spoofed? It's insanely easy to do it. I could basically pretend that I'm you and just be sending texts and communications on your behalf from your phone number. Although, even though it's not your phone number, I can basically spoof it to mask my phone number as yours.
So what is it about Norton that keeps people from being able to do that?
I think that back when, I mean, you remember, and probably a lot of the people listening remember, back 20, even 15 years ago, you'd go to a website and all of a sudden your computer was full of viruses. And you were getting pop-ups and you were getting adware and spyware and all kinds of things. I don't think that people realize that malware is an absolute possibility on a phone. And so I think where, like, if you run the Windows operating system, then good for you. Not everyone has to run Linux. But if you run the Windows operating system, and a lot of those that, they have Windows Defender built in, like, they've gotten so much better over the years. And with Mac, they're really good about being very proprietary and pushing out open source so that it reduces. But I don't think people realize that their phones can get hacked really easily. Like, if you get a text message from your bank saying, please log in and verify your account info, it might be the bank that you go to because it's easy to find that out about you. But once you click that link, anything you type in is not going to the bank, it's going to the attacker. And I think people just feel too safe on cell phones, and that's why I recommend anti-malware. Because I think people, because cell phones don't crash and slow down and they don't behave the same way as a computer does. So it's almost more dangerous because you may not be noticing that someone has access to your entire phone.
Well, one thing about the cell phones that I notice is that there are people, I actually know a number of people. In fact, my co-host is one of them, and she's not here today. Sorry, she didn't get to meet you and talk with you because she had some questions for you. But she doesn't even have a computer. Her phone is her computer. She does everything on her phone.
Mm-hmm.
She does her own podcast thing on another channel and does some stuff. And it's like she does everything on her phone. And I'm like, holy cow. I mean, I've got my laptop, I've got my iPad, I've got my cell phone. I actually just went down a couple of weeks ago and had them put a second phone number on my cell phone. So it's like, now that's one I don't get though. And you're going to laugh because I gave up a cell phone and move the number over, and they give me no discount at the phone company. I'm paying for unlimited talk, text, and data on 2 lines on one device that I can only use them one at a time.
Huh.
But I found that interesting. Anyway, so as I was saying before the break, before we brought you on, I was talking about LifeLock, and that I've been a customer of LifeLock's for years. And Norton has packaged it. Now that they own it, they've packaged it in. When I thought it was cool because I was already a LifeLock customer for $10 a month. And when you told me to sign up to Norton, I went and signed up to Norton, and I get LifeLock free. So it just transferred. I went from paying $10 a month for LifeLock to paying $10 a month for Norton and getting
both.
LifeLock. So yeah, it was
I
like,
love
okay,
the
that was
buyouts.
a no-brainer. Well, what I've noticed is that it gives me a caution on my phone now anytime I go to log on to something if the VPN isn't connected. And what I thought was neat about this is it connects both lines. I did notice that. It was like it is covering the entire device is protected. And I love that about it. So let's move on to another subject.
Okay.
Because I'm going to ask you some Cadence's questions because she's not here to ask them and I know what they were.
Sounds good.
What is the dark web?
I don't think that a lot
How
of
would you define it?
I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, people think of the internet as like this big, cool, crazy thing. No. People write code with .html, and the whole world has just agreed, okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with HTML. That's why we have the web browser we have, because they basically just convinced everyone, here's the route we're going, and here we go. And so if you want a website on the clear web, you get a .com, you get a .org, you get a .edu, and but there is a whole another layer below that is not viewable. So if you want to go to a dark web website, if you pull up Firefox or Chrome or Safari and you type it in, you're going to get a 404 error because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
It only exists on a different browser, which typically you would go through Tor. So it's called the Onion router. It was actually developed in the mid-90s to protect the identity of members of the U.S. Navy. So the government came up with the technology for it, but then once people realized, oh, you can protect your identity, and this is open source, and this is free, and we could all band together and not allow people to be in our fucking business. Okay. And so now it's been developed so that anyone can access it, if you have the Tor browser. But you think of encryption like a VPN. When you turn your VPN on, it might mark your IP address in Venezuela or Sweden or China. Tor brings another level to that by the reason that they call it an onion router is that every layer, like every time it hops a router, another layer of encryption is added. So it's basically like a VPN times however, and so the number of people that have joined it and the people that are managing servers. So basically, with a VPN, it would be very hard to trace anything back to you. But with Tor, with an onion, I don't, it would years, decades. I mean, depending on how serious of a threat you are to the US government. But because it is encrypted at every single router, like we're talking, with a typical VPN connection, you have a single line of encryption, where here it's just layers on layers on layers on layers of encryption. So they might decrypt one layer of it, but good luck with the other 27.
See, I didn't understand until you just said that. I thought that it was like an onion and you were peeling back layers, but you're telling us it's adding on layers of encryption every jump you make.
So yes, as I'm sending a message, every router that it hops to is adding another layer of encryption, another layer of encryption. And I mean, encryption, if you have even like a 12 character string, that could take a supercomputer decades to decode. So then you're
Right.
thinking you do that times 10, times 20, and it's just constantly. So there's really no way to isolate where the communication is coming from or exactly where it ends up.
Okay. First name just jumped into say it, Zimmerman. You probably learned about it when you were in school for your hacking stuff. He did the PGP encryption,
Mm-hmm.
pretty good privacy.
Yep.
And the government threatened him when he was going to put it out there. So he threw it up on the internet and said, sue me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have. They've had him on criminal charges off and on. But I was one of the first ones to get into that. And that's kind of like, no, you're talking about the encryption level. He did it. They said it would take the 7 master computers in the basement of the Pentagon over 100 years to crack the code on an email that was PGP encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And at that, yes.
You make 2 keys. You make a public key that you give out to everybody. They encrypt the message that they're sending you, and the only key that can open it is the one that you have. And they said it would take 100 years to open it without the key.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild stuff. Hey, can I show you a commercial and let you comment on it?
Yeah.
You want to have some fun?
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun at the experience of the credit bureaus. You don't like credit bureaus, do you?
What? No, they're unfair. They're exploitive.
Exactly. Well, let's have some fun with them. Watch this.
Cybercriminals around the world are scouring the dark web, looking to steal your credit cards and social security numbers.
But now, there's Experian. We monitor the dark web globally with alerts to help protect you from identity theft. And because we're Experian, our US-based agents have the power to help you resolve issues quickly. Start free for 30 days at Experian.com/protect. Identity protection has a new identity. Experian.
Okay. I laughed out loud the first time I saw that commercial because I was sitting with my ex-wife in the living room at our house. That commercial's been around a while. I've been divorced for 7 years, so it's been around a while. But okay, can they monitor transactions and really tell me if my information is being sold on the dark web? I didn't think so.
They can do a lot of good things, and they're trying to do good things, and I get that. But the dark web is not like the clear web. They can't scan for it.
They can't sniff packets. That's what it's called.
Yes, the most publicly available databases. Yes, I mean you might get an alert, but oftentimes on the dark web, like if I were to go on the dark web right now and I want someone's credit card number, you would never buy one. You buy them in bulk. So you buy 100 or 1,000 because the sellers and the buyers always assume someone's gonna know and someone's gonna freeze their card, request a new card, report fraud. So you typically, if you're going to buy sensitive information, you buy it in big bulk. And then you just hope that you can start using it faster than the person is aware of it. So maybe they could, but
I have one on this. Somebody got my debit card number on my business account.
Mm-hmm.
And it was they started using it, and I started noticing these things. So I went online, and I knew it had to be the debit card. It couldn't be the account number because it was I was getting the thing on my phone that was telling me it was being charged on the card, and I don't get that on when a check goes through the bank or a direct deposit off the bank. So I logged into my app and I locked the card. And I thought, I just want to see how far this will go. 7 weeks later, I was still taking charges that it was declining on the card. I'm like, that is not the same person. Somebody bought that, but a couple of people had to buy that. I mean, they were little charges here and there, like $10 here, $20 there, a gift card here. It was crazy. But, after
And
about
it depends on, like, there are people on the dark web that I don't know if people realize that there are parts of the dark web that are I would liken it to Amazon. You have reviewers, you have you are legitimized. Like there are things that you can do to legitimize yourself where you have verified customers, verified buyers, and those are the people that, yes, even though they're selling guns or drugs or credit cards, whatever, they're verified sellers. So as far as the dark web goes with cyber criminals, they know who to trust. If I'm buying a bunch of credit cards from this guy, I know that he didn't turn around and try to sell them to 10 other people. But there are parts of the dark web where someone gets a batch of credit cards and they try to sell that same batch to 100 people and no one's the wiser. But that's what you really do if you are marketing on the dark web. You do want a good reputation. So a lot of times they really work to have it. Like, I mean, for example, like some of the illicit things that they sell, they will have professional photo shoots, professional photographers come in and photograph their product and market them, and it's so much like the clear web, just a little bit different and a lot more dangerous. So if you don't know who you're dealing with, there's a good possibility that you're going to get screwed.
Wow. Now, you had said one time when we were talking about this before we were getting ready to do this, you had said that, like going back to the Experian thing, that the only way they could really know on the dark web if my information is in what the packet being sold is if they were either selling it or buying it.
They could, and that's very possible, but there are just so many factors involved. For example, some sellers don't associate your credit card number with your name, and so it's very hard because it's such an open source database with so many factors. If you have the option to turn on monitoring, I mean, why not? But then again, you also have to think a lot of these companies, I mean, Microsoft being one of the worst. Sorry, Microsoft, but they're one of the worst about selling your information. They time and time, it's year after year after year after year, Microsoft proves that selling and buying information is their game. And it is for everyone. I'm not blaming them. It's a money-making strategy, but people kind of look at the dark web as like, oh, they're buying and selling your information. No, they're doing that all goddamn day on the clear web. You just don't care that much because it's not the dark web.
Well, that's just like the deal with Experian. They have that cool little commercial. Oh, we're going to tell you about the dark web. You know what they don't tell you? Experian and each one of the credit bureaus, there are 3 major credit bureaus in this country, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Each one of them in these bulk packages and individually, they will sell it to me individually. They're going to sell your social security number, your name, your address, your date of birth, and all of that 3,000 times today each. Did you know that?
Sounds accurate.
When I was doing the research for the book clear back in 1994, I knew they were doing it. But when I did the new research for the book, it came out to me from several different sources that I was able to verify that your information is being sold on an average of about 9,000 times a day by legitimate companies and banks.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I'm almost more scared of Facebook or Meta, whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, but they do it in the light of day. They're doing the same damn thing, but they do it in the light of day and they shield it behind pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of consents that nobody's going to read.
Yeah. Nobody reads the consent
Nobody's going to
form.
read it. And so it's just, And at this point, like, a lot of websites won't even allow you to access their domain if you don't at least
Right.
agree to some cookies.
Right.
Maybe not third-party cookies, but cookies.
Right.
And some of that is for their own benefit, because if my clients have cookies, it takes less time for them to contact my server, so it doesn't burden my server. So
Okay.
from a company standpoint, yes, and it's not because I want to sell their information. Sometimes it is, but cookies are just make things fast. That's
There are
what makes things
legitimate
fast.
reasons for this
Yes,
technology.
yes. But they take it a step further and say, okay, well, we can do this, but also third-party cookies, which people just say click OK instead of saying necessary cookies only. Third party means that they are selling that shit to everybody that will buy it, and they don't care.
Oh.
But people don't, but they bring it up as a yes or no, but then you have the advanced options, only required cookies, no
Right.
third-party cookies. So it's become so convoluted that it's hard for people to tell, like, what's dangerous, what's not.
Yeah, and I've started with my stuff. I've started telling my phone to only do the location while I'm using this app, and then
Yeah.
as soon as I'm done with the app, I close it. So it's not open. It's not on. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma?
Yes.
Is that not amazing?
It's
Scary, eye-opening,
yeah, it's
all of the
unsettling.
above.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was most interesting in that was when they talked about if you're not paying for the product or service, you are being sold by the product or service.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, most people don't get that. They're like, oh, it's a free service. It's like,
Nothing's free,
somebody's
baby.
paying
Nothing's
for
free,
this.
baby. Yeah.
Somebody's paying for this.
It's advertisements, it's
Right.
information trading, it's something. If
Well, and
someone
see,
is
we're
out
doing
there, they're making money.
see, and we're doing that with my new website, and you've heard about representing me,
Mhm.
and so we're going to segue to that in a few minutes. But um, is there anything people can do? I mean, other than Norton 360 and LifeLock, that you do as a regular thing to protect their safety?
Secure your damn passwords. I know it's annoying. I know you don't want to make a complicated password. I know you want it to be QWERTY. I know you want it to be password 01. I am telling you the best, and download a reputable password manager. I'm not expecting you to remember all of your passwords, but get them into a password manager that is encrypted, because although, like how you were saying, PGP encryption used to take what, 100 years or whatever, right now, if you have a password, so if you have they don't usually allow this for good reason, but a 6-character password can be cracked. If you have a 12 plus character password that is not in the dictionary and is uppercase, lowercase symbols, a combination of them, the world's fastest supercomputer right now would crack it in 27,337,893 trillion years. That is how powerful a password is. And so, if it does, not in the dictionary, not like my school, nothing to do with you. Like, think of like magenta elephants in Sweden, and it, I mean, ridiculous. Or with your password manager, you can do what I do is a string of 16 to 18 characters and symbols that are not words. They're nothing in the dictionary. But if you store them in a reputable password manager that encrypts them, and on my mobile devices, I have remote wipe. So if someone were to steal my phone, steal my laptop, I'm not going to take the chance that they guess that 6-digit
Right.
PIN. I am wiping it, and they might as well use it as a brick at that point, because it is useless. The data is gone. It is burned up from the inside. So yeah, I would say long, complicated ass
Passphrases.
passwords. Oh yeah, passwords are it. That is the
I
number
use
one way to stop
I
people
like
from
to use
doing hideous shit.
passphrases. I like to
Mhm.
make up like 16 character passphrase and
Yeah.
put random numbers and capitals in it.
Mhm.
And it's a
Mhm.
phrase, so I'll remember it easier.
Right.
But since you told me that the first time and spanked my hand for responding to that text message, and I got Norton 360, they actually have a really good password app in there.
Yeah.
So it's been great. It's they keep all my passwords now. I
Yeah.
trust Norton because you trust Norton. If you recommend Norton to me, I'm going to trust them. So
They do. I'm saying as far as third party goes, yeah. Yeah, as far as third party goes, I would say, doing a full scan but then also like you've also just got to be a master of your own shit. Check your bank account every day. I remember my grandpa, one of the things he did every morning, he'd call into his bank account, put it on speakerphone, and he'd write down all the charges from the previous day. And I always thought, oh my God, so archaic. That's so funny. Hell no. You need to be in your bank. You need to, because if you start seeing 2 cent, 3 cent, $1, oh, a big thing on the dark web when they buy a bunch of credit card numbers is I buy 10,000 credit card numbers. I'm going to charge them all for $2. So at most I'm making 20,000 and they probably won't notice. So that's a huge tactic is just buy a huge stack of card numbers, charge them all for the tiniest amount so that nobody notices and it can go on for years. And so that's become the big thing right now. Like don't charge a lot, charge $1 from 10,000 people rather than $100 from one person.
we're going to take a commercial break. Can you stay with us?
Mhm.
You got time? Okay, awesome. We will be back in just a minute with Kately, the White Hat Hacker, and you are and you won't remember this because now we have Wikipedia. We used to have an entire set of encyclopedias on the bookshelf, and you are an entire set of encyclopedias of information, and we appreciate you. We'll be right back after this.
Thanks.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
to make this world a better place.
And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
No matter what size your label says, Men's Warehouse has you covered. With American designers and expert stylists, we'll help you find the perfect look. For the receptions, the board meetings, the trips with the boys. And let's not forget the anniversaries. It's time to take your style to the next level and create the perfect fit. It's time to like the way you look.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to be rejoined with Kately here in just a second. And there she is. Hey, Kately. Little 2 minute. They call those a 2 and 2. They're 2 minutes and 2 second breaks. So I should have told you that
Oh.
before, then you'd have known how long we'd be back.
No, it's fine. Learn something every day. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah. One of the talk show hosts on one of the game shows used to always say, "We'll be back in 2 and 2," and he'd do that with his hands. He'd 2 and 2. There it is.
That's interesting.
I have a hard time finding the camera. I don't know what it is.
No idea.
We don't have a lot of time left, but I wanted to talk a little bit real quick about this. Are you very familiar with the Real ID Act?
I am.
The law?
Mm-hmm.
I am a big opponent of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nothing but a tracking device on every American in the country. I've got a device that I actually got to play with at a convention in Las Vegas. It's about the size of a cell phone, about twice as thick as most of the smartphones. A police officer, and we have a Fourth Amendment right to protect us from unlawful search and seizure.
Right.
The police officer armed with one of these devices, and Samsung builds it. It's called the Grabba. And this device is so powerful, it can scan your car as it goes by 100 feet away from the police officer at 100 miles an hour. It can read every real ID, every passport, all the new money and currency in the car. It can read any firearm in the car that was manufactured after 2012 or in 2012 and after. It can tell them the make, model, caliber, and date of manufacture of the weapon. All of this information, holding something up and snapping a picture of it as you go by? Seriously? Do you agree that's a problem?
I think that it is a problem that is nearly unavoidable, unfortunately.
Well, I agree. It's
a big problem. I don't like it. But at this point, it's kind of like, do you want the convenience of modern technology? And with that, you give up a lot of your privacy? Or do you want to live off the grid? And, it's kind of a trade-off. But then again, a lot of people, like I always hear, when you go to a grocery store or something or a retail store and they ask you, and you go to the register and they ask you for your phone number. I don't think a lot of people realize, because every time I'm standing behind someone, they just give them their phone number and I'm like, ma'am.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize, like, aside from, like, I guess this is kind of like a rabbit hole or I digress, but so much of our information we give so freely, or they ask for your email when you go shopping or something. No. And all I tell them is no. No.
I tell people all the time, 90% of the information they have out there on us, we gave it to them.
Yep. And we do it, and we do it without thinking. Like I went to, and it was, I think that was when I realized that my husband was just as tech savvy as I am. As we were out shopping like a couple months into us dating, and he paid for something, and she was like, "Can I grab your phone number and zip code?" And he was like, "No, you can't."
Awesome.
But they get
awesome.
But think of how many times someone, even at Michael's, at any retail store, there was, "Oh, can I grab your phone number? Can I grab it?" No, you most certainly cannot.
And for the safety's sake, let's go back to that. So we're talking about privacy and safety. What if somebody's standing behind you in the line and they get your phone number and they do a reverse directory, they get your name, and now they can hunt you down. They can stalk you. It's just crazy. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I have personally been working for over 7 years now, over 7 years now on fighting Real ID.
Mm-hmm.
I've kept it out of Oklahoma. I personally talked to Governor Stitt before he became the governor when he was running. And I talked to him and I gave him a copy of my book, which is on Amazon. The Real ID.
Yep.
In its opposite, the byline on the book is opposition from the beginning, because nobody wanted it. It was harder than hell to get that thing voted out of committee, because nobody wanted their fingerprints on it when it came to the American people, and they found out that they had screwed them into a national ID card. But I told Governor Stitt, I said, if 36 states or more will refuse to offer real ID as the only ID available in the state, the federal government can't pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Because if 300 million people are buying airline tickets and 30 million of us get on a plane tomorrow or go to get on a plane tomorrow, and they've invoked real ID, and say even 5 million of them can't get on the plane, what are those 5 million people, including me, going to go do? We're going to go back down to the counter at American Airlines or whatever airline, Southwest, and demand a full refund on that ticket. Yeah. Because I've got a valid ID and they wouldn't let me on the airplane. I've got a valid ticket. I got a valid ID. You can't keep me off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
It's a valid ID in my state. You can't keep me off the airplane. If you do, I'm going to demand a refund. What's American Airlines and all the other airlines going to do when that happens? They're going to sue Homeland Security into the Stone Age. They're going to bankrupt an entire department of the federal government because of what it's going to cost them that one day when they pulled the trigger. The other side of that is, what happens if little Miss Kately is called to jury duty at a federal level that day? And you go and show up and you don't have a real ID and you hand them your driver's license and they refuse you access to a federal building.
Right.
Now they're going to issue a warrant.
Which, on a side note, they're actually not allowed to do. They're not allowed to request ID to enter federal property. But anyway, that's a whole nother.
But under Real ID Act, they will be able to.
But yes.
But with the Real
I
ID
think
Act,
for me, it's not as much about, and I really appreciate your efforts on that front. I just don't have the energy for it. So I'm one of those that I'm like, fuck, okay, I'll just roll over and belly up for it, whatever. However, I have become, in response to that, I have become a lot more protective. Like you and I text on iMessage because,
yes.
But primarily, I will only use WhatsApp.
Oh, I use Signal.
And WhatsApp, I'm not super familiar with Signal, but WhatsApp, it's end-to-end encryption. And so I'm like, fine, if the government wants to know exactly who I am at all times, fine. But you're not going to see what I'm talking about. I draw the line there. I draw the line. I encrypt all of my communications heavily. So that's fine if you know who I am.
Right.
But that you'll know my name, my date of birth and me, but that's it. Like, you're not digging into my internet history. You're not digging into my conversations. You're just not. That's where I draw the line.
They already know me because I showed up at the Department of Homeland Security a few years ago, and they met me at the sidewalk and threatened to arrest me and called me by name, and they'd never asked for ID or anything. So their facial recognition on the cameras around their building already got me as I got out of the cab. So
facial recognition has gotten so, we need to do a whole thing, because 4 years ago, when I renewed my license with the Real ID, you were not allowed to smile at all. And they took 6 different pictures because they were like, it needs to be straight face. But now, nope, they don't care. Facial recognition has come so far. You can smile, you can laugh, you can shake your head. They will know who you are.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. So I think, yes, if they are that intent on knowing that I exist, okay, fine. You could have found that shit out from a census. But what I talk about, what I search for, what I browse online, that's not your fucking business. It's just not.
Kaylee, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you can be back next Tuesday, because we're actually doing our premiere for the show is next Tuesday. This was kind of like a dry run, which is
cool.
good. because we didn't have a co-host. But we did fine. You and I did pretty good. I'm going to close the show out by telling our audience that, well, I'm going to say goodbye to you and let you go. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next Tuesday then. Thank you very, very much.
See you next
Tell your
week.
husband hello.
Bye. I will.
Okay, and on that note, we've got less than 60 seconds to get out of here. So I'm going to tell you, if you have any questions, comments, or anything, feedback for the show or suggestions, OPS, other people see it's just abbreviated to OPS at Seebic, SEEBIC.com. That's our publisher. OPS at Seebic.com. And remember this, folks, it's all about information. Who has it? Who can get it? And who controls it? Control yours. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday.